This is our second episode of EPM Chronicles and Confessions, as they say. We're with Bob Kotecha here. And really, let's go straight into it. Bob, could you tell us about your EPM journey? I'm sure it's been very vast.
Good morning, Tim. How are you?
Well, fine, thank you.
Good. So, Tim, I started my career as a Bollywood photographer years and years ago. Obviously, wasn't the career that my parents would have liked. So I then became a chartered accountant, and I spent many years climbing up the ladder of accountancy, from internal audit to financial controller, finance director, managing director, and got involved in a mergers and acquisition project where we bought into a promotions business, which within 2 or 3 years we grew. We, was me and a business partner, grew and was disposed of within 3 years. And as mergers and acquisitions go, I then got fired. And I had a 3-year garden leave because it was a very specialist business and they couldn't compete. And at that time, my brother Dinesh had started on EPM Consultancy, one of the first Hyperion enterprise pillar consultancies in the UK. And they were working with Belron Autoglass Group, and they needed an accountant to come and help them with the data migration. So I fell into it, and 25 odd years, I'm still here, helping clients and employers to get the best out of their EPM investments. I see EPM as an investment, and like any other product that you invest in, you want to see good returns. And I think I deliver the benefits of the investment rather than just running a system.
Fantastic.
So that's me.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. So next question is quite an interesting question. EPM misconceptions. Like my mom still thinks I sell computers, so I just tell her I sell computers. So when you've explained what you do to anyone, what's kind of a misconception they've had, really?
That's one of the funniest things, and this is going back early on, where I ran a seminar, and I think it was for one of the big advertising agencies, WPP or something. I went up to New York because the finance director needed some guide to their 30 odd global finance directors, and we talked about EPM, and there was questions, and some people will listen, some won't. Anyway, in the questions and answers session, somebody raised their hand and said, so is this a new email password management tool that we're implementing? And this was a global finance director. So, and these were early days. Don't forget, EPM has evolved. But yeah, that was quite funny because I spent, flew 7,000 miles to do a 1 hour seminar. And anyway, that was quite funny.
Definitely. So, what would you say is your biggest EPM challenge, and what did you learn from that?
I guess the biggest challenge was when one of my employers, despite my protestation, particularly about Hyperion, because I've been running Hyperion for 15-20 years by now and been through various iterations, introduced Citrix because they wanted global applications to be available through Citrix. And it was implemented, and as soon as it went live, we had huge challenges in the budgeting. We used to do weekly forecasting, so this was quite an intense system. And Hyperion just fell over in terms of performance was poor, people couldn't get in, and so we had a forum which we discussed these things in, and the Citrix implementation team insisted that it was actually Hyperion, and they needed to talk to the Oracle engineer who wrote it. So they didn't even understand that Oracle's like a global company that you can't get to an engineer who wrote that, right? So I held firm. The finance director had full confidence in our team, and in the end, the Citrix team found out that they had forgotten to switch on or toggle something on or off.
All right.
Which and I was on holiday when the system was resolved. And to date, I have not had an apology, because that was like midnight oil and sweating it out and P45 in the back pocket time, right?
Yeah.
So, but in the end, we got it working, and we were friends again.
Fantastic. What would you say is your biggest EPM success story?
So as part of my job heading up BI solutions in the UK, we merged the European retail division this is for Mercedes, and the Europe team needed a central tool to measure 220 sites across 13, 14 countries, different source systems, different languages, and all that sort of stuff. And we went through a beauty parade of various vendors, and my system was one of the tools that was being considered. And despite protestations from many people, we managed to convince the management team that this was the tool. One, it was invested in. Two, there was a lot of internal knowledge,
Sure.
and people had confidence in us because that was one of the few systems that people did not have any worries about, right?
Yeah.
And then we delivered a full KPI management tool system
Perfect.
within 3 months, which is still being used, by and large. So, I see that as, because it had all the elements of going wrong. It has
Yes.
all the elements of challenges that we face in EPM, and opposition, and budget requirements and all that sort of stuff. So it was very satisfying.
Fantastic. I mean, I've had lots of oops moments in my career, as I say, and kind of been very funny. I look at some of those with fondness. What would you say is been your kind of EPM funny moment, or one
So
of
yeah,
them?
when I was a consultant, I was helping handhold a handover from an incumbent to a new incumbent, and we were
Yeah.
brought in whilst they were trying to sort things out. So anyway, things were going well. I was due to depart within a week or two, and suddenly I got a panicked phone call from the finance director to say something has gone wrong. Data is not loading. All the finance team are up in arms. They
Oh
can't do their
God.
jobs. The business is going under. What are you doing about it? So, but
Yeah.
anyway, all I could do was go through the process, the data receiving ETL process, getting it transferred into the staging area, loading into IP, and running the all that sort of stuff. And so I went through it, and suddenly there was a file missing, a batch file that was kicking off the load. So ETLs happened, so I
Mm.
could see all that. And so I started looking at it, and I started looking at the time modified file in our
Oh yeah.
processing folder, and there was a file which the name was unrecognizable. So I thought, what's that file? And I opened it, and this was actually the process file that we needed. And
Oh,
the new guy was sitting there, and I said, what happened there? He said, oh, I renamed that because I didn't like the name of that. I wanted it to be more memorable to me. Unknown to him, of course, there are back end processes that reference this thing. So
sure.
we did resolve it, and we did have a chuckle at the end. But those 10, 12 hours trying to find it
Yeah,
was a bloody
definitely.
nightmare.
I can
So
remember.
yeah.
I can. I've had those too. You're really good at your field, very eminent in what you've done. If you've got one piece of best practice, a kind of knowledge that you could share with the community, what would that be?
Listen to the users.
Yes.
After 30 odd years of being in all instances of finance systems, IT, because I know at Mercedes, I also became the cloud risk specialist. One thing that I often see people not do is listen to what the users
Yeah.
want. Because ultimately, we are a supplier, whether it's me talking to you, me talking to the company, or whatever it is, we are suppliers. And, in my books, the customer is always king. Now, we might be able to
Mm.
guide them. We might be able to say, look, this is best practice, or help them. But in the end, if people don't get what they won't use it. And
Sure,
that
sure.
was one of the issues that I had to deal with at Mercedes, because the system was very good, very nice, but the users found it difficult, the navigation. So, simplification. So yeah, listen to what people want and keep it simple.
Fantastic. One of the things I do mentor a lot of youngsters and who are coming into the industry. And we're old timers between us. We've
Mm.
probably got 200 years between us in the industry. But the thing is, what kind of advice you'd give to newcomers to our industry at the moment?
Well, I would say two things. One is learn the basics of accounting principles, because a lot of the systems we work with start with and end with some accounting, either input or output, right?
Yeah.
Um, Second, obviously, is understand data and how data gets moved around and the security of data nowadays. And lastly, I would say understand the business. I know you asked for one, but I think these three things
Sure.
all go in hand. So you
Yeah.
need to understand how the business works, what the drivers are, what customers are, what people want. And, I think nowadays it's being a business partner as opposed to
Yeah.
just a technician. Yeah.
Sure, definitely. So you've been in the Oracle industry or Oracle EPM industry for a long time. As you know, there's other vendors and software out there. What would particularly interest you to say switch to them, or is there something that would appeal to you in terms of going to another system? Could it be OneStream, Anaplan, Tagetic, any of these? What would it be?
Well, the first thing I'd say is that, I've often been before my career at Mercedes. I was a senior consultant and worked with numerous global businesses, and I generally only worked with global businesses. And I said early on that EPM is an investment, and a lot of companies are, unless they're starting something brand new, are heavily invested, and there's a lot of reason not to change. However, the world has moved on. And
Yes.
so I think that the companies to make a change would need to see the cost benefit analysis of ditching what could be, 2, 3, 4, 5 million pounds of investment already. They
Yeah.
may have sunk the cost, but it's still an investment.
Sure.
And there's, knowledge in the business of the same system. So there's a lot of things to consider. But, things like user friendliness or security, cost savings, agility, modern architecture, I think, is a key one, because the newer systems would be based on modern architecture, uh, performance, and I guess the key one is customer support, because
Sure.
Oracle, Hyperion, they've been around for years. There aren't many issues that arise today that haven't arisen in the past. People know the answers. Whereas modern architecture is all nice and new, but if the customer support or the back end isn't there, then it's harder for somebody to sell in a system like that. And I
Definitely.
think those are the areas that companies need to focus on.
Definitely. EPM is evolving, is changing, and we know already things are just affecting our industry already. Whether
Mm,
it's
mm.
been the COVID pandemic, remote working, even AI. Where do you think EPM is heading for in the next 5 years?
Well, I think EPM systems can take center stage in corporate strategic planning. I think a lot of companies see EPM is reporting on historic information, giving nice charts, but I think strategic planning, forecasting, predictive analysis,
Yes.
I think are all key things, and artificial intelligence and machine learning, are the things that can help if utilized right. Because I think people can be hoodwinked by saying, "Oh, we have AI or we have ML, and we can help you grow your business by 40% or 60%." When I was at Mercedes, I used to get loads of people coming tell me, "Oh, we can improve this or improve that." And so, how would you do that? And so, well, we take your data and we do this. And so, well, we've got that already. Give us something new. Um, so I think real time data reporting,
Yeah.
because it's computer power. So when you and I started, you used to have to worry about pounds per megabyte, right,
Hmm.
as a cost.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's in abundance. The mobile phones have got more memory than the first Apollo mission to the moon, right?
Yeah. True. Yeah.
So I think that we can help in data-led decision making. However, I think that needs a major change in which companies use EPM, and also it requires a new breed of specialists who understand the requirements of companies. We've got the ESG and the net
Yeah.
zero and all that sort of stuff that EPM systems can bring good value to. But I think people need to move away from the old thinking processes of what an EPM system should be doing to
Sure.
what it can do.
Definitely. Yeah, a lot of our the network is looking for new jobs or looking at tips for job hunting. You've been, on both sides of the fence, looking for jobs or recruiting. Any tips for people out there in terms of job hunting at the moment?
Yeah, I think one of the key things, and this is controversial, and this
Yeah.
is not meant to be against anybody. I think that social media has made people think that finding a job is easy because there's an ad, you click on it, and things happen, which I don't think they do. I think networking is key. I think you need to know people who are knowledgeable and work with people who understand what the future requirements are. I think participating in forums to get exposure, to be seen
Definitely.
that you are an expert in what you say, and I think also aligning with influencers like yourself, to gain. Not only I don't think it's only for job hunting. I think jobs come to you if you have something people
Yeah.
want, you know. And so I think the traditional methodologies are still very relevant. I do feel personally that there are people who hide behind social media.
Sure.
The connection in the old days, you would go and meet an agency,
Yes.
they would
Yes.
get to know you. Nowadays, they see a CV, it goes through some software that
Yeah.
identifies the keywords, and even if you are brilliant, right, you might not be part of that because they've missed that. And so, if I'm looking for a job, even today, I will insist that the consultant on the job at least talks to me in the phone and gets my personality out, because part of me, 50% of my job is to be working with
Yeah.
people and communicating, right? And I
Sure.
think these are key things.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much for today. It was really good. Really enjoyed it. And, bit of your chronicles and confessions. Just people out there, if anyone wants to talk to Bob or have more advice, please let me know. I'm more than happy to send you his details and everything. But anyway, thank you so much and have a great day.
It was a
Thank you.
pleasure as always, Tim.
Thank you.
Catch up with you soon.
Take care then. Bye.
Bye.